All right, so now we get into day two. You switch decks at that point, right?
Yeah, so day two, I felt like it wasn't really working for Sabres just because for various reasons it wasn't it didn't feel like it was climbing fast enough for me to perform very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing more Shiranui, and I was like, there was a point where I was like, um all these people with their Shiranui, and it's like I could
I could do
everyone
that
just
better.
opens back row. I could do it better. So my solution was to run 30 card Shiranui.
All right, I'm gonna put this
It's such a stupid
monstrosity
idea.
on the screen.
Yeah,
Oh my
and
god, it's the same. It's just you took out the element sabers and just put in Shiranui cards
yeah,
for the
it's just
most part.
more traps. And it's like,
This is
I
just
mean, this is what
gross.
happens when you get triggered by back row decks, and you're like, I could run a better back row deck,
So
and then I
did
ran a back row deck.
would you just open four back row and be like, "Ha ha, you're not playing"?
I opened a monster and 3 back row, and then I summon my monster and then set my 3 back row. And it's like, because I have one monster, I'm usually fine for almost the rest of the game. Like,
Right,
if you think about it, if you have Gazuki, like, if you have 3 back row to protect Gazuki, Gazuki sends the level 2,
oh, he
and
sends
then,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, and then each turn he's sending a new card, so, like, you're always getting value out of him.
Right.
So, like, he sends level 2 first turn, and like they try to push, say that you have to use 2 of your back row, but even if you use 2 of your back row, you're still going to send a solitaire next turn, and then that's going to get you into a level 8, and then that can like either OTK them, or you can go into a level 6, and like Hades negates monster effects that it destroys, so that's good,
Right.
you know. And
Well,
because you're milling monsters with Gazuki, you're going to draw more trap cards to protect him, so
true. Okay, so I'm looking at this, and you say, "Oh, I get one monster and then a bunch of traps." It looks like besides, well, you got starters. You got three starters, right? Kazuki, the Solitaire, and then the Squire. And then I guess you could always set the tuner, the level two tuner, if that's the one you started with. But the Lancia, that's got to suck if that's your one monster, right?
yeah. Lancia is just like, um, so some cards you just need to have for like longer games.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, sometimes I was running 2 Lancia just because it's like, if you hit both invocations, like they element sabers just lose their fusion
Okay.
plays. So, but
Um. Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna say, I see you're playing the level three tuner. We don't see that a lot. Some decks don't run it at all.
Level 3 was pretty good, like just in the long games, or in times like you can make Squire Saga, and then that's really good against back row or like stall decks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like stall just sets 3 back row, and like they just try to chip you out with Shadow Game. Like
Right.
Squire Saga lets you banish cards from your graveyard, so you take less damage from Shadow Game, and then it's able to pop back row free, so they take more damage from Shadow Game. So
Nice.
it's
Nice.
got value there, but it's also like the level 3 has an effect where you tribute it, and then you special summon 2 Shiranuis that are banished, or
Mm-hmm.
like a Shiranui and a zombie. So in the mid game, you're able to tribute it and bring back a level 2 and a level 4, and then go into some more synchros.
Okay. So it does have some utility. It's just, I guess in tournament play, we just don't see it a whole lot, or we haven't been. Things have been
Yeah,
trending
yeah.
away from it. Now there's a card in the top row. It's a level one. It's a UR. It's got a gold orb on it. What is that card?
The special card, I'm not sure if you guys heard of it. It's a Sphere Kribo.
And what does that do?
It puts a monster that attacks into defense.
That is a handy card.
Yeah.
I would have three of those if I could.
So a sphere is like in really long games. There's gonna be a point where someone's gonna try to push
Mm-hmm.
really hard, and like in those cases, just having sphere Kribo is really helpful. because it's the hand trap. So even if they nuke all of your back row, you have some sort of defense.
And we've seen metas where Kiteroid is better, and we've seen metas where Sphere Kribo is better. And in my experience in this KC Cup, I think I was running my deck had 3 Sphere Kribo in it, and
Yeah.
it was way better because the Kiteroid protects you from the direct damage, right? But this, you're playing against Shiranui, you throw down a Sphere Kribo, they're now in defense and they have 0 defense for your next turn. It's great. It just stops the attack. Or like when you're playing against Cyber Dragons, they get, I'm going to discard 27 cards from my deck to the graveyard so I get 27 attacks in a row. You use that Sphere of Karibo, they're done. It's great. Whereas Kiteroid, that wouldn't happen.
For sure. Yeah.
All right.
Then I suppose going through the trap lineup, a lot of it's similar to Saber lineup. Well, there is Ballista over like Canadia, but that's I'd say that's pretty standard for Shiranui. I was running Chain Disappearance, so that's the it's one of the traps in the second to the last row.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's right
what
next to
that
the
is,
Phoenix
it
chain.
banishes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how does it work?
So what that is if a monster is summoned with 1,000 or less to attack, then you banish it and all copies from your opponent's deck or hand.
Ouch. So what are you trying to hit with that? They're tuners, obviously.
Yeah, if you hit their tuner, it banishes both of their tuners, and then they can't synchro summon well, if it's Shira. If you hit Alistair, then they have 3 Alistairs banished, and then they can't invocation. If you hit it against Kristrons, you banish their tuner or what have you, and they can impact it back, but it sets them behind a fair bit.
How come we don't see this more? I mean, we don't really see it a whole lot.
Just it's not always relevant, so it's not always played, I guess. Some decks just don't have monsters below 1,000, or like the monsters that they do have below 1,000 are just very low impact, and they don't really care if they're banished.
For some
like,
reason, Blue
they're
Eyes
not
jumped into
common
my
enough.
head, and I would love to just do that to their White Stone or something. Just bam, get out of here.
Yeah, but like most of the time they're setting Whitestone, you know?
Right.
Or like
Or well, those little 0 attack sages and whatever. Or
yeah. So
keep those things
Sage is
ready.
good. Like you could hit Sage, but it's like Sage gets its value off of normal summon, so like banishing it doesn't do as much.
But if you can get them all out of their deck, right? Just get out of here.
Yeah, it is true.
All right, and then Drowning Mirror Force. That's always a nice one, especially
Yeah,
against
so
Black
like
Wings, right?
yeah, or like even just just anything really. That just because nobody respects drowning.
No,
No.
it's never going to be Drowning until it is.
Yeah. And it's like you solitaire and then you tribute itself, summon a level 2, and then it's like you don't have very many monsters, or like if they get really aggressive, they'll just go for game. So they just like hit the level 2 and then push, and then you just drowning. And then if you drowning for 3 with the level 2 and solitaire engrave, you just go into the level 8 and OTK them.
Nice. That's where they just scoop. As soon as you flip that, they're like, all right, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah. I resolved drowning for 3 like multiple times this KC Cup.
Nice. That'd be
It's
so
kind
satisfying.
Yeah, like against Luna Lights, they attack
Oh
with
yeah.
2 fusions and I forget what else, and then I just drowning for 3, and then it's like it was actually kind of surprising how many times people would not scoop, and I just deck them out because
Really?
like they can't do anything against my board.
That's ridiculous. And with Lunalights, it takes a while to build back up. You know, unless you get like a lucky draw, like you get the rabbit or whatever, and you can pull stuff out of the grave or something. But usually, it takes a few turns to build your resources back up to where you can fusion summon again.
Yeah,
So a drawing
yeah,
it would be just absolutely devastating. And then you finish it off with Needle Sealing and Floodgate because you're just that guy.
yeah. Needle, well, it's like needle sealing. It's still good, And well, you can't like set monsters as much as you can in Sabers, just because you can set Alistair, you can Malehu flip your own monster
Mm-hmm.
down. You don't really have that here, but you do have like if say if you solitaire summon the level 2, um, you don't really care if the level 2 stays on the field or gets destroyed. So it's like you can needle ceiling and it's like another ballista squad. You just put it in the grave.
Okay. Nice.
You also have Archfiend Zombie Skull, and it's like it says face up zombie monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. So it doesn't matter if it's their card effects or your card effects. You just needle ceiling the whole board, and you're fine.
Nice. Was there anything else you wanted to point out? I guess you got what Hades in there too. Did you use that at all?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other than the level 7, the extra deck is fairly standard.
Mm-hmm.
The Hades is really good for negating like Winda or Crystron monsters.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this was day 2. Was this the majority of your day 2?
So this was a decent portion of day 2. My highest DP on day 2 was 60,000, I believe.
Okay.
So I got pretty high with this day 2. Um, and however, there was a mistake I made day 2, which was uh, just running something that I hear is working. So
Oh,
um,
you didn't
I was
follow your
talking
own
with
rules.
yeah. So I was talking with some friends, and so Zaid King, I believe he got top 10 global this time. He
Mm-hmm.
was running Ritual Beasts almost, I'm pretty sure the entire way, um, as well as Sokram. I think for most of day 1 and 2, he was second place global in
Yeah,
Ritual
I saw
Beasts
him
the
up there.
entire
Yeah.
time.
Well, Zaid King, of course, wanted to run Ritual Beast because he won Battle Phase with it. So, of course, why wouldn't you? If you can win a Battle Phase, you can win the KC Cup with that.
Yeah. And I wasn't sure what to play. I was at around 60,000, maybe a little lower, like trying to figure out what to change because it's like I was moving back and forth between 60,000 and maybe like 55,000, somewhere in that range, just moving up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, maybe I should switch. What should I switch to? And then I switched to Ritual Beasts, and that was a terrible idea. Um, no, I played so many games trying to figure out like actually I wasn't figuring out the deck. I was trying to make it work. I know how to play the deck. I just like was not drawing well, or like when I would draw well, my opponent just drew better, or like a hand that just invalidates whatever I have.
Well, I'm just imagining, okay, Canhog, banish Pinky, Canhog, banish Elder, trying to figure, okay, why can't I bring him back? What happened there? Why can't I resummon him to the field? What's going on?
It's like yeah, like I have enough practice with Ritual Beast. I know how to play the deck when I can play it,
Mm-hmm.
but when you open like two Canahawks, a Sphere Karibo, and like a Cosmic Cyclone, it's like, well, what now?
So you
You
weren't
know?
playing restart with the deck.
I was.
And you, yeah, it still I played Ritual Beast this time
Yeah.
around too, and I had the kind of the same experience where I climbed really well. You know, I wasn't aiming for the upper echelon. I was just going for prismatics basically, and I got up to like 20,000 with it. I didn't play a lot of games, and I was really happy. And then yeah, I lost like 10 in a row. It was just like
Yeah.
just got sacked and sacked, and like you said, those terrible starting hands, or you just can't get the right combo of beasts into the banish pile. You know, because it's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
starting with was it Laura and then like the lion. It's like, oh, yeah, I can make something, but I can't banish anything with this, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just end up,
Yeah. It's rough.
yeah. So that it's I don't think it's a good. It's an okay deck. I just don't think it's a good KC Cup deck, and I learned that the hard way
Yeah.
this time around.
Just I feel like it's unreliable, or like it's not consistent enough that I would like try to play more KC Cups with it.
No, I definitely would. It's a fun deck. I like playing it because like when you actually pull the stuff off, it's like I got a giant brain. You know, it's like look what I just did.
Yeah.
You know, and I pulled all these plays off in 200 seconds. But
Yeah.
when it doesn't work, you're like, oh, F this deck. This thing's stupid. I can't believe
Yeah.
I started that way again. I can't believe I ran out of time. You know, because basically you get to make like three, maybe four really good plays with it before you run out of time.
Yeah.
Because if you do the classic Canahawk, take them back, search a card, that's like 60 seconds off your timer. Even if you're going really fast,
So
you know, to do
I
the whole
think,
combo.
yeah, like I would say even when you play fast, it can be timer intensive, but like it's really just like if you don't, that's like conditionally like if you can play the game. If you don't have the right cards, sometimes you just set Canahawk and pray that they don't OTK you. Like,
Right. Yeah, or you you gotta watch your timer, but like you start with that hand you're talking about, and you're looking at it, and the timer's going. You're like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And you lose like 20 seconds doing that. Now you're already behind on the timer.
yeah.
How many times did you time limit loss with that deck?
Zero times. I think I maybe had one time limit loss the entire Casey Cup, and it
Okay.
was like I was clicking end turn, and then it just time limit lost me, and I was like kind of mad by that. But
There was one time I did throw my phone into the couch. I didn't throw it in the wall. Just kind of threw it at the couch that I was sitting on because I cleared the guy's board. I got two of the big lions out. I was going into attack, and I time limit lost. I was so mad because I had the win. There was nothing he could
yeah,
do, you know. And I was just like, ah, threw the phone. I was so mad. I think that was like within that 10 game losing streak. Just made it worse, you know. And I
yeah.
didn't follow Neg's advice. I just kept playing. I just kept playing. I didn't care. All right, so we're at the end of day two. How'd you feel after the end of day two?
I felt terrible because I kept playing Ritual Beast and it kept not working. And I think the amount I played Ritual Beast, like, so I peaked with Shira, and then say that got me to like 60K, and then it went back down to maybe like 55K,
Mm-hmm.
just to be generous. And then I played Ritual Beasts. Then Ritual Beasts dropped me all the way to 45,000.
Ooh, they're a harsh mistress. Yeah, I think I
Yeah, it
ended at
was
like ten
not a
thousand.
fruitful venture.
Yeah, yeah, I was same place. I no, I was so proud because like I had like a 10 game win streak. I'm like, this deck is the best, and I went right into a 10 game losing streak afterwards. Oh, it was terrible. All right, so are you sleeping normal hours? Or are you going to bed at like 3 a.m. at this point?
Um, it was it was kind of late when I went to sleep. I don't remember the exact time, but it
Okay,
was like
early morning
maybe
hours.
1 in the morning, 2,
Okay,
or yeah.
so you get up, have a nice full breakfast, get you ready for the day, right? And then you're back at it.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so day three, what are we looking at?
day 3, I woke up and I was at 45,000. Um, I was at rank like 300 something.
Oh, that's
Um,
terrible for you, right? You're probably just like,
yeah,
why am I even playing the game? I'm retiring. That's it. I'm done.
yeah.
I'm in the
Um,
circus zone.
I had it was like 8 a.m. for me when I woke up or so,
Okay.
somewhere around that range. So I had, so I did the math. I had 16 hours to go from 45,000 to top 100.
Hmm.
At least that was that was the minimum goal, you know?
Hmm.
So because like I said, I felt like I wanted to win. So if you're like, yeah, I want to win this Casey Cup, and then you don't even get top 100, it's like total fraud material, you know? Or like that's how I would feel at least.
Your
So
roommates are like, "What's wrong with Neg? Hey, he lost at his Candyland game again."
figures.
All right, so you're outside the top 100 quite a bit at this point,
Yeah,
and you're like, "What can I do?" and I'm
Yeah.
guessing you fell back on old reliable.
So I started playing Crystons
Mm-hmm.
again, and it was working a little bit. I wasn't sure what to really do. I was like climbing a little bit. This was like my final build, but initially it was 30 cards, and I just had like more sea stealth attack and more whales. But I felt like it wasn't consistent, so looked at what other people were playing. So I went back to Element Sabers for a little bit, tried that, and like ultimately it just wasn't working. So I was like, okay, I'm looking at what I'm playing against. What do I need to do? I need to play Restrons with Sea Stealth Attack, but not like how I'm doing it right now. Because what I'm doing right now is not consistent enough.
Okay.
So I looked at the 30 card build that I usually run and thought, okay, how do I make this more consistent? And then I just made it 27 cards.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Would you take out
So it's like,
two whales and a SSA?
yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. It's like, I'm just thinking like, because in the past, or I guess this goes for everyone, but it's very easy to like think in very rigid ways. Like if something is, if everyone's running 30 cards, then I just guess I gotta also run 30 cards. You know, there's like ideas like that. The same goes for 20 cards, you know? Like there are often times where people will only run 20 cards, even though 21 or maybe more is fine.
Yeah, don't tell that to Herf. He'll
And
absolutely
this,
freak out. He'll start throwing numbers at you like, "Oh, you decrease your chances of drawing your starter by 3.5%." Yeah. There's some people
yeah,
that really get into that stuff where it's like, "It's 21 cards, man."
yeah, but it's like you gotta think what is adding one card, how much is going to decrease consistency versus how much is it going to win you the game? Because the goal is not to play the game, the goal is to win, you know?
Ooh, somebody write that down.
So like if you open a starter card but that's not enough, then just having more consistent hands is not going to win you the most games.
Okay.
Whereas with Crystons, the deck is so strong that having consistency will win you those games. Therefore, I reason that like 30 cards, it's good, but I don't need 30 cards. 30 cards is just what everyone's running because the deck is consistent enough that it can subsidize the extra space
And I
because it means you have more fuel.
and honestly, how much of that really honestly is OCD kicking in? Because you show somebody a deck with 27 cards, and they're like, "Why don't you just run 30? 30 is a nice round number." You know,
Yeah.
I don't
Or
think you're going to
like
convince people to run 27 cards.
if you look at 25 card lists, it just visually it looks off because of just how Duel Links structures like
Right.
images, you
Right.
know? Like it's 24 cards and then just one in the corner and it's like it looks weird. So I think there is an element of um, aesthetic to
Right.
it that people don't want to admit that affects their deck building
Right.
now. But like really it it doesn't matter how many cards you have if it wins you the most games.
All right. So you had 16 hours, and how many points did you have to climb? Like roughly like 30,000.
So I started at 45,000 and like almost the entire time it takes a long time to climb.
I
Like
was gonna say
this
so.
was a record. I think this may have the second lowest AC Cup overall performance.
Well, what'd you finish at? Did you say 75,000?
I finished at like 77 or 78. I don't
All
know
right. So you,
which
you had to go
range.
up like 33,000 points. You got
Yeah.
16 hours. Crystons can play 2 games an hour. So basically, you had to win every game for the next 16 hours.
Well, it wasn't even 16 hours because I spent maybe like 4 of those hours like on sabers, you
Oh
know.
my god. Okay. So realistically, how many games you play in an hour? 2, 3?
Well, it depends on the opponent. Maybe if I'm generous, I'd say like
4?
I'd
Maybe?
be 6 to 8, I'd say.
Really? Really? Okay, that many. Did you
Uh,
get a lot of people
yeah.
scooping where you'd start and they're like, I'm not sitting through this?
It's more like some decks like Cyber Dragons. It's a very easy once you know like certain matchups.
Hmm.
If you do that like specific thing against say Cyber Dragons, they're just gonna lose every time just because their deck doesn't have ways to deal with what you're doing.
Now, I remember we talked about it. Was it maybe in the pre-interview, the last video we did, or maybe we were talking about before we even did the video? You explained some play to go into Powered and Zectron against Cyber Dragons. It was convoluted, but it sounded like it was a good counter. Do you remember what it was?
So turn one, um, the way I set up typically is that I set up Powered and Zectron with a Rion. So normally the Crystron play is to set up a monster in defense with a Citri, so that on your opponent's turn you go into Amatrix and it switches all their monsters to defense.
Right.
This is good, but like it loses to a play that they can do with enemy controller. So a lot more Cyber Dragon players are running enemy controller, and if you run Amatrix, then you can lose to them just running Econ. So
Okay.
it's going into Amatrix isn't always safe.
Hmm.
However, if you go into Inzectron, it's always safe because it's just you don't take any more damage this turn, so
Hmm.
they can't OGK.
Oh, I remember you describing some long series of plays that you were talking about against Cyber Dragons that you like. I can't remember what it was offhand. Um,
Um, One play you can do is that you scrap or undyne, you send Thistvern, and then you banish it, and then you search Sulf. That way you have a level 3 banished, so
mhm.
no matter what you summon off Sulf, you're going to be able to go into Powered Inzectron on their turn.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. So, is there anything special about this deck? I'm looking at it. It looks like a deck I've seen you play 100 times. You got
Yeah.
the Self Effeneers, the Undines. I mean, the whole thing looks like the ratios is something we've seen before. I mean, there's nothing too
Yeah.
spicy here.
It's not like really the deck isn't in oh inherently Crystons are more about how you play it than just like what your build is.
Hmm.
Granted, the build did help a lot because I'm running less cards, it's gonna be more consistent,
Hmm.
you know. So that's a benefit, but also like uh, it's just how you play Crystons really decides how you perform with Crystons.
Explain, like, if you play it smart, you're gonna do well.
Oh, there's a lot of there. It's just such a very technical deck. You see like matchups like Lunalights or I'm trying to think of other decks or like heroes. If you don't know what to do, or even Cyber Dragons, if you don't know like the special plays, you're going to mess up a lot and possibly drop games that you otherwise could have won.
Hmm.
But if you know like these specific interactions or what to avoid or what to go for, then you can like drastically increase your win rate in these matchups.
Well, I was thinking, Crystons, they're just a really fancy uh, synchro toolbox, right? When it comes down to it, you do all these plays just so you can go into the synchro of your choice to get yourself out of the situation.
It's pretty accurate, yes.
I mean, I mean that's what it comes down to. I mean,
So it Crystons is good just because like we have strong synchros, and also
mhm.
SSA is really consistent and strong. So, Like the decks that can beat SSA, they just can't handle your Crystron combo or like any of your Crystron monsters cards.
Hmm.
Like you think of Cyber Dragons, they can break SSA with Cyclone, but like they can't deal with um Insectron. Like like you just make it and then they can't OTK, and like OTKing is all they can do.
Right, and they don't know
And
what to
if
do
you
after
summon,
that.
yeah, if you summon Sam Destroyer, if they try to pop it with Overflow, then it just summons itself back. So like no matter what they do, like
Hmm.
it's really difficult for them to out Sam Destroyer.
And it's bigger than was it rampaging, right?
Yeah, it's bigger than Rampage Dragon. If you summon Amatrix, if they pop it with Overflow, you just float into a card from your graveyard. So like your whole deck is just counters Cyber Dragons. So like if you play it correctly, you should just win like something ridiculous. I don't know, 70, maybe 80%.
Yeah, I actually found Ritual Beast wasn't too bad against Cyber Dragons, just because you could go into the big dolphin and then just sit,
Yeah.
and then
Ritual Beasts have a good matchup because it's like mm, Cyber Dragons, they just nuke the board and like they
right,
go ham. But if your deck has some sort of floating, then it just typically beats Cyber Dragons. So Ritual Beasts, they have Winda, they just sit Winda, pass, and that's like an oppressive turn against Cyber Dragons, you know?
right. I loved always just throwing out that dolphin, and they would still try to use their trap on it. It was just hilarious. It's like just read the card, just read the card, and you're gonna realize you can't do that.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop them from trying. All right, so this is what you used throughout the rest of the KC Cup. Was there a time where you were just going, "Oh man, I gotta push,"
Was there a time what?
where you were just like worried, like I'm falling behind. I'm only top 150 or whatever.
Well, no, like once I started playing Crystons, like this build, I was never at a point where I was like, the deck isn't working. It always was, this deck is working. If it doesn't work this game, it's either because some unfortunate luck or I made a mistake.
Okay,
I was
well,
always in a position where I was like, this deck is the best deck and I should just push because I think I can. I was so far behind, but the deck was performing well enough that I felt like I could even win if I wasn't making any mistakes.
what was your win rate? Would you guess with this deck?
This win rate, like, or this deck,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think because before I started using it, it was pretty abysmal. My win rate was like 54% or something. No, more like 55%.
Okay.
My win rate tanked a lot just because of Ritual Beasts.
Oh, I'm
I'm not
sure.
gonna lie.
Yeah.
But once I started playing it, like my win rate like jumped up like a solid 4% at least, maybe 5%. Like, and that's the course over like many games. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, it was just really strong for me.
All right. So, did you play the last hour?
I did. I just because like I was so close to the gold icon that it's like
Oh, yeah.
if I lose all of my games, I'm still probably in top 100.
Hmm.
If I win all my games, I could potentially get a gold icon.
Okay.
So
And it sounds like you fell just short of that.
yeah, it's unfortunate. I was definitely near the end. I made a lot of mistakes. I was kind of tired and like maybe a little dehydrated. I wasn't drinking enough water.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I was like my water bottle was empty and I was not like
You
I
couldn't get off
didn't.
the couch to go fill it and play at the same time?
It's like when you're so zoned in, you're like you queue into another game and then you look over empty water bottle. Okay, I'll go do that in the next game
And that just
after this
never
game is
happens.
done. And then when that game's over, you just queue in again because you're trying to go
Right.
for gold, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, you said you think you finished 14th. So, there is hope still to get in the top 10 because there's going to be at least 4 people that are going to get banned for cheating, right?
Uh, well, I don't know how much Konami likes me, so maybe they'll hit me too. But
Yeah. So, oh, I did have
anything's
a question
possible.
because I thought I read something in the rules or whatever. They're doing this grand tournament this year. Is your invite to Worlds good for next year as well?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
So the rules stipulate that um, if you qualified for Worlds this year,
Hmm.
um, because they can't have Worlds this year, they will extend your invite to 2021 Worlds. If you're already qualified, you're going to go next year. You just get a bonus of you also get to participate in this tournament
Okay.
without needing to get top 100.
So you have to keep interested in the game for another year.
Or I could just leave and then like right before Worlds log in, you know.
I mean, that's really tough because just the nature of the game, the nature of life. I mean, you can't predict where you're going to be in a year. You know,
Yeah,
that's what sucks.
it's kind of annoying that like I qual in 2019 I qualified for 2021.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. It's gotta be tough to handle or tough to deal with or whatever. You know, I would just feel robbed, I guess. To me, it'd be
Yeah.
nice to say I will be here in a year, but you never know. I mean, I hope you are. I hope you're playing the game and still having fun, but who knows, right? I mean, you could be anywhere in the world. You could have a new job. You could be married with a kid. Who knows, man?
Yeah, it's tough. It's annoying. Hopefully I still enjoyed the game by then, but I don't want to, you know, I would like to be optimistic
Right.
that I will still be playing the game and I will still enjoy it at that
Well,
point.
we hope so too, because we love having you on the channel here, and I'm sure everybody's loved this video. So if you guys do like it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and do all that kind of stuff. I guess in the comments down there, tell us how you guys did. Tell us where you ended up. I always like seeing that. Tell us what deck you played, how it did for you, those kind of things. You want to shout anybody out or anything, Neg?
I suppose shout outs to Zaid because he was fun to talk to while I was playing. Shout outs to Sniffus. Shout outs to my team, Tier Zero, and I guess my clan, 1%. They were also very supportive people.
And just in case you guys don't know, it's difficult to get into 1%. You got to buy a lot of packs. You know, that's why they're the top 1%ers, right? But if you want, you can sponsor them to get into free tournaments because they need your help. All right, so make sure to reach out to the members of 1% to help them get into free tournaments. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Circus. That's Negative1. We'll see you next time.